The top transfer tips for Game Week 4, I have them all covered, including the good buyers, the bad buyers, all the transferred in players, and all the transferred out players, and what moves potentially you might need to be making. I also take a look at the impact of Ange coming in at Nottingham Forest. I also look at 5 at the back. Is it something that potentially you should be looking at? And lastly, I finish off with a free hit draft if you're so inclined for Game Week 4. I've got a massive show ahead. Again, this is the time. Smash a like on the video. Leave me a comment with what you're doing. Also, if you want card calls, please leave a comment today or hit me up on X with the post I put up there. And if you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing. We are slowly closing in on 3,000 and I can't do it without you. And that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's go. So the game week difficulty for game weeks 4 to 9, I just want to really cover this again because I've been thinking about it more and more this week, and I'm still not sure what I think about it. There's so much we don't know. Lots of people have asked why I haven't wildcarded my team, and the honest answer is because of the fact that we just don't know so much information still. We don't know how the new teams like Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest, Newcastle United, Spurs are going to go in Europe with their squads and what that means for their form in the league. We just don't know how that's going to go. We also don't know what Pep Roulette, what Slot Roulette, what Arteta Roulette, what Maresca Roulette are going to look like with their deep squads, with the Champions League football coming in for those teams and the Premier League. What are we likely to see? But based on this, the teams I really want to focus in on, obviously, are Spurs, who have that amazing run of games there, and also Bournemouth. Now, Bournemouth obviously don't have the distraction of Europe, a bit like Manchester United, a bit like West Ham United. These clubs, I think, are going to be really imperative to target because they've got some really good assets there that are going to be playing 90 minutes every single week. You won't have to worry about rotation because they've got no European football to be resting for. And in some of the cases, they're already out of the Carabao Cup as well. So, yeah, you just need to be aware of it. And obviously, the promoted teams, Leeds, Sunderland, actually have pretty good fixture runs for the time being. Burnley, on the other hand, are probably coming into their hardest stretch of the season. So you do need to keep and be wary of that as well. Fulham also are a team that potentially you may want to just skip for now. So let's have a look at the top transferred in players for the defenders. So, not a surprise that Senesi is the most transferred in player. He has started like an absolute house on fire. He's been getting the DC points all 3 weeks, and he just, let's be honest, he looks amazing on paper. And I have him in my own team. That is the one move I've actually done in my own team this week. I've got rid of De Kuyper, and I bought in Senesi before he rose in price. Now, a lot of people probably bought in Gahey thinking that he was going to be at Liverpool post the Game Week 3 deadline being lifted for Game Week 4. Unfortunately, he hasn't moved to Liverpool, so he's not going to be part of their defence. But he also has pretty nice fixtures, and Sunderland at home is a great entry point. And I think that he's still going to play really well for Crystal Palace. He looked very good for England during midweek as well. Then we got Calafiori and Timber. Now, I don't think that it's the right time to be buying Arsenal defenders. Now, maybe these people are buying them on free hit, or maybe they're wildcarding this week and bringing them in 3 weeks early. Again, there's European competition. There's going to be rotation. Calafiori as well has been quite injury prone. Timber also has been injury prone, but not to the extent that Calafiori is. So again, they are ones to monitor really more than be buying. Then we've got Chalobah and Kukurea. Now, they're both away at Brentford, and they're pretty good assets. Let's be honest, Chelsea's defence is pretty elite. It's not quite as good as Arsenal's, but it is really good. Obviously, Bournemouth has been pretty good to start the season as well. So I don't mind them as picks. And look, I really wish that I'd had a Chelsea defender or a goalkeeper in my team at this point. I think my season would have gone a lot more different myself. Then there's Virgil van Dijk. Now, I'm not sure. I'm still not sure about him as a pick. Yes, I get that they've got an amazing fixture this week with Burnley away and then Everton at home. But I'm still not sold on that Liverpool defence. They haven't looked overly good in terms of like keeping clean sheets. And really, that's what you're getting Virgil van Dijk for, the clean sheet potential and the DC potential. The DC's been doing really well, clean sheets, though. I know they got one against Arsenal. I'm just not convinced. Arsenal didn't play particularly well in that game. So I think that has to be taken into consideration. In terms of transfers out, now Saliba makes a bit of sense. Apparently it's rumoured that he probably will be red flagged next week. So it looks like he's going to be out for a little while. Wan-Bissaka, I understand. He obviously got benched. And if West Ham continue with 4 at the back, he's really fighting against Kyle Walker-Peters. And at the moment, you'd have to say that he's probably behind in that battle. Then we got Frimpong. Now, I wouldn't be selling Frimpong if I had him. There is a chance that he could be fit. It was meant to be around this time that he was going to be back. So for that reason, I wouldn't be panicking with him. And potentially, I'd just be holding him. I wouldn't be selling him. So I'm surprised that he's still being sold in great numbers and he features there. Then obviously Ait-Nouri again. I just think that I'm not sure why he's the 4th most sold defender. Dorgu, I think that unfortunately he had that bad game against Grimsby, but I do expect him to start at the Etihad against Manchester City. I just think that he offers so much more on the left-hand side than Dalot. Let's be honest, but you never know with Amarin. He does love Dalot, so potentially there is a world where Dalot starts again on the left. But I think that moving forward, Dorgu is the one that's going to be playing there more often than not. Aina obviously potentially had a few issues, I think, in the international break in terms of injury. So I think maybe potentially that's why he's there. Also, potentially, Nottingham Forest changing their manager might have an impact there. It's actually surprising there's not more Forest defenders in the most 7 transferred out players. And then it's Van de Ven coming in at number 7. I'm a little unsure as to why he features there because obviously Tottenham's run is really good. But then again, it is Spurs and we know that they aren't the best in terms of keeping clean sheets and playing consistent football on a regular basis. So, onto the midfielders, and look, Super Jackie Grealish is leading the way here with the most transfers in for midfielders. He beats out Semenyo. Now, I honestly think that those two are really good assets. They don't have to worry about European football. They're not going to have to worry about, rotation, etc., etc. The only thing you have to worry about is Grealish in, 3 or 4 weeks' time when he plays Man City. Obviously, he won't be able to play that because he is on loan. But Semenyo just seems like a good pick. Bournemouth's run, as we had a look before on the fixture ticket, just looks really good on paper. There's no reason why he can't continue to get good returns. Enzo makes a lot of sense. We learned that he's on penalties if Palmer is still out. We will hopefully find that information out from Maresca tomorrow, whether Palmer is back or not. If he's not, Enzo really does become quite an enticing pick, particularly at 6.6. Even with Palmer back, he's been involved in a lot of stuff over the first 3 game weeks for Chelsea, so I quite like him as a pick. I'm surprised that Cody Gakpo is not higher up this week. With our Burnley away fixture, he's probably been the pick along with Ekitike for the Liverpool attackers so far this season. So I'm surprised he comes in only at number 4. Then Mbeumo comes in at number 5. Now that's potentially because of the fact he looked really good against Burnley, a lot of reactionary transfers. I think he will be good, but I don't think he should be in the top 5 most transferred in players, particularly with Man City away and then Chelsea at home the following in game week 5 and then Liverpool in game week 8. It doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense to me. Mo Salah comes in at number 6. Again, probably that Burnley away fixture. A lot of people that probably didn't start with him are either free hitting him in or wildcarding him in for these next 2 fixtures. So I kind of get that one. And then Kudus. Now, he's the 7th most transferred in midfielder. He's also the 7th most transferred out midfielder, which probably tells you a lot about what people think of Kudus. He's already shown that he can be quite inconsistent, as we saw at West Ham, which is why I didn't really like him at the start of the season. Now with Xavi Simons coming in as well, I actually think that he's probably the best Tottenham midfielder you can probably move to moving forward. I think he's going to have the best goal threat. He's probably going to have good assist threat as well. And for that reason, I just think that that's where I would be going rather than to a Kudos. But I wouldn't be selling him with those run of fixtures they've got. He seems pretty nailed in that team, and I'm surprised that so many people are selling him. Then we've got Cole Palmer, still the most transferred out midfielder in the game. Again, it kind of makes sense. But if you're one of those people that has him, I'd be waiting for the press conferences tomorrow, because if he's fit, he's actually almost becoming a bit of a differential, which is pretty good. Originally, that's why I kind of wanted him, because I thought that he was going to be really good. He just obviously did nothing in game week 1, has been injured ever since. But there's every reason to think that he will be good at some point this season. So potentially he could be worth a hold until after the press conferences tomorrow. Then we've got Cunha. Now, I always have Cunha in my team, and at the moment I'm holding because I do believe that he potentially might be fit for the Manchester derby. However, I think it's probably from the bench. I don't think they'd risk starting him this weekend. I could be wrong. Maybe he will start because he's been training back in Manchester. I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be selling him. I think he's been really good for Man United without actually getting a return, and the returns are coming. I can tell you that much when he's fit. Now, Wirtz, very interestingly, with the next two fixtures of Liverpool and Burnley away, lots of people, the third most sold midfielder this week is Wirtz, which is just hard. It's hard to fathom. Why would you sell him ahead of Burnley? Unless obviously you're on wild card and potentially you don't want to have him long term. That's the only reason I can explain for why he's being sold in such great numbers. Zerke obviously got injured during the international break. He's going to be missing, so that makes sense that he comes in at number 4. Reindeers, again, must be people wildcarding or free hitting, because I don't quite understand why you would make a sideways move with him. It seems a bit of a waste of a transfer. But again, if you are on, and there are a lot of people on wildcard and free hit this week, so I do understand that might be impacting on that. But yeah, it's another one of those ones where I go, really? Then we got Saka. Now, Saka's highly likely to drop to 9.8 before the deadline based on projections. Again, yeah, I think I'd be waiting for the press conference. But if it did mean you lose an extra 0.1 overnight tonight, potentially you do move early. And I've already talked about Kudus. I'm not sure why people are selling with that fixture run coming up. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So on to the forwards, and this one makes 0 sense to me at all. Why is Isak the most bought-in player this week? The dude literally went away for international break and played about 12 to 18 minutes based on when he came on and then the injury time that followed in the second game. He didn't do much. There is no way, no world where he starts away at Burnley. So you're literally buying him this week, hoping that he returns. And a lot of people, judging from the most transferred out, have sold Ekitike to Isak to do this because they're not going with both of those Liverpool attackers. I don't understand why he's the most transferred in forward. He obviously must be rusty. He obviously must be not match fit, because otherwise he'd be starting for Sweden, let's be honest, because Gyökeres didn't do much in either of those games. But again, he started. So I just don't get it. I don't get why people are moving to him so early. And plus, he struggles with 3 games a week. You'd think they'd want him mainly for the Champions League rather than the league. I'm not sure. Ekitike's also looked good, so has Gakpo. There's no reason to rush Isak into that team. It just makes no sense, his transfer in any way, shape or form. Then João Pedro. Again, obviously Liam Delap's going to be out injured. Mark Gui obviously is still in the most transferred out, because obviously people are having to move him because potentially they're already tripled up on Chelsea. I'm not sure about João Pedro either. Yes, I know he started the season really well and he's looked quite talismanic for Chelsea, but he's gone away to Brazil. He's going to be back late. It potentially could be leggy this week. And then there's the Champions League. He also doesn't have the best injury record in the world, let's be honest, from his Brighton days. So again, I'm still not sold on him. I'm not sure. He is a good asset. If you've got him, you hold him. But I don't know if I'd be buying into him, even if I was on a wild card, to be honest with you. Then Ekitike makes a lot of sense, particularly for game weeks 4 and 5. Longer term, it could be an issue, but for the foreseeable future, he still looks really good, and he should definitely be starting against Burnley, let's be honest. He'll probably get about 70 minutes as well, I would guess, based on Isak's fitness levels that we saw in international duty. Then Mateta he's obviously on penalty, so he's a good buy. I quite like Mateta. If I had a bonus transfer and I wanted to change up my forward line, had the money, I'd probably bring him in myself. And I do understand that move a lot. I'm surprised that with so many people that are wildcarding and free hitting, that Haaland's not higher up on this list. I actually thought that he might be number 1, because he's just scored 5 goals during the international break in 1 game. He plays Man United, who he's got a history of getting big returns against, and he's back at the Etihad Stadium. He's my captain this week. So I'm surprised. I'm legitimately shocked that he's not higher up on the list, and he comes in at number 5. Richarlison the Pigeon comes in at number 6, and he's also the 7th most traded out. Now, he is definitely going to be impacted by Kolo Muani, Koala Bear. He's going to be, I'm just going to have to call him Koala because of the fact that I can't say his name. I'm sorry, mate. I really struggle with your name. I don't know why it is. I just do. But the Pigeon, Yeah, I've got him in my draft team, and honestly, I'm looking probably to move him out. So if anyone wants him in the draft league, please hit me up because I might be willing to part with him. Then Gyökeres comes in at number 7 in the most transferred in, but also 4th in the most transferred out. And that tells you all you need to know about Gyökeres. I don't think that he's looked that good in the league. He didn't look very good on international duty. Yes, he probably will still score about 15 goals, but I think he's going to be heavily reliant on penalties. Based on what I've seen through the first 3 game weeks and international duty, it's definitely one I'd be considering him and just holding fire on a little bit more, particularly until that good run of fixtures comes in game week 7. In terms of the transfers out, Wood comes in at number 1, and that makes a lot of sense. He's coming back from New Zealand. Potentially, Ange moves away from Chris Wood because, let's be honest, he's 33. He might not be able to do what Ange Postecoglou wants from that position in the team. Watkins, the second most transferred out forward, I've not thought about transferring him out at all. The next 4 weeks for Villa are amazing. Watkins also, I think, will get back into form. Lots of Villa players were in form during the international break. So hopefully they can transfer it into FPL. I just think it's too early to be selling Watkins. I think even on wildcard, I'd have him over Gyökeres all day long. Ekitike, I think people are selling him way too early. You should be selling him in game week 6 if you're going to sell him at all. Gyökeres, I've just explained why I think that potentially he's being moved out. Mark Gui, obviously a lot of people have been forced into that move. He was never a good pick anyway, even at Sunderland, so I'm not sure why people ever went there. Šeško, ditto. I mean, yeah, he's probably going to start on the bench at Manchester City as well, let's be honest, if Mount's fit. The only way he doesn't not start on the bench is if Mount isn't fit, I think. And then the Pigeon, I talked about him. His place in the team is definitely going to come under threat over the coming weeks. So the impact of Big Ange, and we need to talk about this because I obviously have double Forest defence myself. And look, I think with the next 2 fixtures, I think you've got to hold for game weeks 5 and 6 on any Forest asset that you have, because I don't think Ange is going to come in and just play completely different players straight off the bat. I'd be legitimately shocked if he did. I mean, there's nothing to say that he won't. And obviously I am concerned because if Sells and like Milinkovic all of a sudden fall out of favour for, say, Victor John and Jair Cunha, or Wood loses his place to Igor Jesus and all the Botafogo guys take over and all the ones from last season all of a sudden become on the bench, I just think you've got to hold. You've got to hold this week. There is a chance that the Arsenal game will go one of 2 ways. Forest will show up and they'll put in a really good performance and potentially keep the clean sheet we've been waiting for the last 3 weeks, or they're going to be bang average. I'm just going to take a gamble and hope that they come good, and I'm going to play both Milinkovic and Sells in my team. So if you've got double Forest defence, I think I'd just play him. Arsenal haven't been attacking teams too well. They definitely miss Saka when he's injured. So for that reason, I think that I just hold them, particularly for game weeks 5 and 6. That's what you really had them for to begin with. They're a sell probably from game week 7 onwards, but I wouldn't be selling them straight off the bat. The biggest one, though, is Chris Wood. I think that all the players that are currently playing, Chris Wood's the one most at risk, based on the fact that I just don't think that he's the kind of profile striker that Ange is going to want to be playing. So I would be concerned about him now. I wouldn't be panicking if you owned him, but I'd probably be benching him this week. He's already coming back from New Zealand, which is my side of the world. And trust me, it takes a good time to readjust when you've got to fly over 20 hours to get back to the UK. So I'd probably be benching him this week, but I think he should be fine, particularly for game weeks 5 and 6, you hope. But those new signings are going to have an impact, particularly with a change of manager, let's be honest. Then, can you play him against Arsenal? I think you definitely can. And should you load up on Arsenal players? Now, a lot of people are on free hit this week and are loading up on Arsenal defence. There is a world where Nottingham Forest do actually quite well at Arsenal. I'm not saying they're going to score, but I just don't know if I'd be loading up on Arsenal assets against Nottingham Forest this weekend. Like, Big Ange will want to get off to a good start. He's going to be in the dugout. It's not like there's a caretaker manager there. For that reason, I just don't think I'd be loading up on Arsenal assets. That's just my personal opinion. Whether you want to follow it or not, it's entirely up to you. But again, I just think that Nottingham Forest, particularly for the next 3 game weeks, 4 to 6, we've really just got to hold some faith and hope that Big Ange doesn't completely destroy those picks that we thought were going to be good at the start of the season. So the best midfield replacements, lots of people have problems in their midfield. I've got Cunha, I've got Sarr, lots of other people probably got Palmer, maybe Marmoush, maybe Saka still. I think these two are the two best picks based on the fixtures and potentially what their potential is. So I actually think that Semenyo is probably the pick. He doesn't have to worry about Europe. He's going to be fresh. He's going to probably get some big returns amongst those fixtures that you can see there. So Brighton at home, Newcastle at home, the two most difficult ones. Then it's Leeds away, Fulham at home, Crystal Palace away, Nottingham Forest at home. I just think that he's going to continue to rack up returns. Maybe not to the 15 points a game week type level, but he's going to continue with the odd goal, odd assist. He's going to average probably a return every 2 to 3 weeks. People are probably hoping every 2, but let's be honest, it's probably going to be about every 2.5 weeks. Then we got Xavi. Now, his record in the Bundesliga was exceptionally good, like almost on the same kind of level as Wirtz. Now, we know that Wirtz has struggled to get going in terms of attacking returns for Liverpool, but you can't ignore those fixtures for Spurs. Now, obviously, European football is going to come into it and potentially he does get rotated or whatever, and maybe he doesn't start straight away. But I think he walks straight into that Tottenham lineup in that number 10 position. And if he does, the fixtures, as you can see, are just amazing. Like West Ham away, Brighton away, Wolves at home, Leeds away, Villa at home, Everton away. They're good fixtures. Like, there's every world where he's just really good value straight off the bat. So I think of all the new signings that have been made, he's the one I would gamble on straight off the bat without worrying too much about it. So on to your questions for this week. Now, a lot of people are on wildcard or free hit, and if you are, you've probably already pressed the button, but I do prefer free hit over wildcard because of the fact that we still don't have all the information that you are going to need moving forward. I just think it's risky to play your wildcard now when we don't know. Like, we're basing everything off 3 weeks worth of games, and there's been mad fluctuations for teams in all of them. So for me, it's a free hit all day long. I actually considered free hit for myself. I've just been turned off it because of the fact that I just think that I could free hit this week and it will be a disaster. So for that reason, I've avoided it myself. Is Super Jackie Grealish for real now? Super Jackie Grealish. I think he's for real. I think that we're seeing the Villa Jack Grealish back in play at Everton. And Everton's fixtures aren't horrible, and they've actually looked pretty good attacking-wise, and a lot of that is down to the fact that everything's getting played through Jack Grealish. So if you ask my opinion, is he a good buy? Would I pick him over and die all day long? Would I pick him over Kevin Dewsbury Hall all day long? If money is an issue, though, I'd probably be looking at a cheaper option. But I think he's going to be great. Should he be the most transferred in player this week? I'm not sure about that, but he's still really good. Do you move your flagged players or your hold? So I'm in the position where I'm probably going to hold Cunha. I'm probably going to hold Sarr, even regardless of whether they're out this weekend or not. I don't think they're going to be out long term. And I've got other issues, particularly in my defence this week, to solve. So I'm happy to bench him, and I'm going to play a 4-3-3. That's my plan this week. So I think it just depends on your team. If you have lots of issues and you need to sell them, you sell them. If you don't and you can afford to get away with benching them, I don't think they're going to be out long term. So I'd just be holding. Who's the best asset to buy this week? I think it's Erling Haaland. I won't lie. I think that he could be the top scoring striker this week, particularly against Man United, based on the fact he's just scored 5 goals in a game. I just think he's going to be really good. If it wasn't that, I'd probably go with Cody Gakpo. I'd probably go with him over Salah, is my honest opinion on that one. So yeah, which Liverpool attacker? Salah, Ekitike, Gakpo, Wirtz, or Isak? Definitely not Isak. There is a world where Wirtz actually does the best out of this lot this week, but I, as I said, I think I'd have to go with Cody Gakpo. If you ask me for a second one, I'd probably say Salah, and then I'd probably go Ekitike, Wirtz, and then Isak in that order. Are Spurs good, or are they just a bad roller coaster ride? I think they're a bad roller coaster ride. I think what we've seen from Spurs is they'll have good weeks, like they did against Burnley, like they did against Man City. They always play well against Man City, let's be honest. But then they're going to be awful in other weeks, like Bournemouth at home, like where people expected, oh yeah, they should account for them pretty easily. They literally offered nothing. All the highlights in that game were all for Bournemouth. And I'm still not very sold on them. With Europe starting as well, I'm even less sold on them. I think we'll see a Jekyll and Hyde from Spurs this season. Against West Ham are one of their bogey teams as well. There's every chance that West Ham beat Spurs this weekend, especially post the international break. It's going to be an interesting watch. I hope Frank does well. because it's not going to be long until he's in the same kind of position as Amarim, where the fans are jumping on their back. They're a very demanding fan base to Spurs fans, a bit like Man United in general. And do we hold faith on Villa assets? The answer is yes. They've still got four amazing fixtures before you need to then probably reassess. So if you've got Watkins, if you've got Rodgers, if you're thinking about buying Harvey Elliott, I think just hold them, potentially buy into them. The next 4 weeks for Villa, they've got to turn it around, or else Emery's going to be in some real trouble, let's be honest. So the ultimate debate now, I just want to talk about the 5 at the back. Now, I have seen a lot of talk about going big at the back. And there is a world, and I've seen some people, even in my WhatsApp community, if you want to join, there's a free link in the video description. I'll also leave it as the pinned comment and the thing. But there is a world where we now have to have a serious conversation about playing 5 at the back, or whether you should be playing more than 3 defenders at the back. Now, me and Andrew, FPL Nightmare, had a really good discussion about this last night on the FPL pubcast, and obviously Triggs on Wildcard, and he's gone for the top route. So he's gone with the 5 DC superheroes. And I think these are probably the 5 best. If I was to go that route, I'd probably go with Senesi for Bournemouth, Lacroix, as Trig would say, from Crystal Palace, Sepp van den Berg from Brentford, Tarkowski from Everton, and Virgil from Liverpool. Now, all those guys at the top have hit DC points, or they should have, in all the 3 game weeks. Lacroix was very unlucky that Opta updated post the deadline for altering points in FPL. Otherwise, he would have got it then. So you could literally play those 5 every week and potentially get an extra 10 points every week from those 5 players. But I want to sit there and come back at you with the attacking ultimate 5, which is AT for short. So in comparison, Cucurella, Munoz, Calafiori, Juve, Livramento. Now, they've all got attacking potential. On any given game week, one of them could score a goal or get an assist. Now, the thing that DC points hasn't done so far without the clean sheet potential is we don't see many bonus points attached to it so far. But I can guarantee if a defender gets an assist or a goal and then gets a clean sheet, they're getting 3 bonus points. Let's be honest. We've seen it so many times already this season with Chalobah, with Calafiori, with Timber, etc., etc. All it takes is if you played those 5, for example, if one of them scores a goal, you're out scoring the other 5 single-handedly, provided none of them kept clean sheets, right? None of them kept clean sheets, or they all kept clean sheets. But that's where I think the problem lies, is we're forgetting, amongst all this, the DC points versus the attacking threat of defenders. We're forgetting the bread and butter, and that is clean sheet potential. So I actually think that the best 5, if I was on wildcard this week, I'd probably go with something towards the bottom here. So Chalobah, Senesi, Jurrien Timber, Livramento, and Tarkowski. Now, I picked 5 different players from 5 different teams, all with very good underlying defensive data. Obviously, Everton haven't been there so far, but I do expect them to improve under David Moyes, and potentially we will see that later on in the season. But I think when we're looking at which 5 defenders we should be getting on a free hit or a wild card, you need to have a mixture of both. I don't think going all DC is the correct play. I think going all attacking way is probably not the correct play either, but I think hitting some sweet spot in the middle and enabling the rest of your squad in order to basically play 4 at the back maybe most weeks. Like, even if you've got 5 really good defenders, I don't know if I'd be inclined to play 5 at the back on any given week, unless there was just amazing fixtures and I saw clean sheets for all of them. I'd probably play the 4 most likely to get clean sheets and roll with it like that. I think that's probably the answer. Some sort of sweet spot in the middle. But again, let me know your thoughts on what you think about defenders moving forward. Are you a DC superhero person, or are you all aboard the attacking train? I'm really intrigued to know what people think. And lastly, onto the free hit draft for Game Week 4. Now, I covered this in my free hit and wildcard draft video last week, and it hasn't changed at all. I think this is still what I would go with a free hit draft in Game Week 4. We've got double Newcastle defence, Pope and Livramento. I don't see Wolves scoring in that game, so it just makes a lot of sense for me. Munoz should be really good against Sunderland. You would expect lots of attacking potential. With Saad potentially not in that team, a lot more is going to fall on his shoulders, so hopefully he can rise to the challenge. Senesi is just a no-brainer. There's every chance he could get another 14-pointer this week. No problems at all. In the midfield, we're going with double Liverpool attack. So Gakpo and Mo Salah are both in there. We do have a couple of enablers in Enzo and Reindeers in order to facilitate this. And you could even get Reindeers out for a Harvey Elliott if you wanted to take a gamble on like Aston Villa at that Everton game or whatever. Or you could go with an Everton midfielder like a Kevin Dewsbury Hall and free up some money there. It's entirely up to you, and then spend it in the forward line. Potentially you could go João Pedro instead of Evan Nilsson, and then you could get Reindeers down to Kevin Dewsbury Hall. That's definitely possible as well. But I think Evan Nilsson against Brighton at home should be a really good fixture. Mateta obviously has Sunderland at home. Haaland obviously has Manchester United at home. And I actually have him as captain over Mo Salah. In my own team, I've got Haaland captain over vice-captain Cody Gakpo. But because you've got Salah in this draft as well as Haaland, I still think Haaland's outscoring Salah. He's looked so much better than him so far this season, and I think that warrants the armband on him over Mo Salah this week. Then obviously we've got Dubravka on bench, who you're not going to need. King versus Leeds at home as your first sub. You could probably potentially put Tosin as first sub instead of King. They've obviously got their Brentford away fixture. And I've just put a 4 million defender as last because, let's be honest, they're not going to be getting onto the field. So Goodmanson there is the 4 million rated defender. So that's my free hit draft for your viewing pleasure for Game Week 4. So that brings us to the end of my transfer tips for Game Week 4. Let me know what plans you are looking to move, whatever you want to call it. I'm intrigued by some of the moves being made at the moment. I do understand a lot of people on wildcard or on free hit, so a lot of these transfers might be skewed based on the fixtures that present us this weekend. But again, I'm intrigued to know what people are doing. Who are you looking at captaining this week? Are you going Mo Salah over Haaland, or are you going Haaland over Mo Salah? And if you want some card flips, please write them in the comments. I will try and include the best ones that I like in the late mail. And with that being said, if you've enjoyed that content, please smash a like. I'll see you tomorrow with my team selection nice and early, followed by the late mail late at night tomorrow. And then I'll see you on the deadline stream on Saturday. I've been FPL D-Unit. Thanks for watching.